I don't even got time for it. So anyway, that's how life is. And that's all I'm saying. And that's not how life is. That's how people want you to think your life is. Or that's how people want you to perceive your life to be. And you don't have to take that. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to take people who have a low level of like insecurities and all that stuff. You see? And it's like they can't perceive, they are unable to perceive any other notion than their own. You see? There's something wrong. It's really something wrong with people that actually think that you want to do something with them and you don't even give a fuck about it. That be the problem right there. You see, it's like rape. It's always like rape. They never connected. They never connect the information that they have to a rape or rapist. They just take action. And it's like, that's some rapist ass behavior. They never connect the other situations that they have to being a hoe. And you're like, that's some hoe ass behavior. And it's like simple. It's like you would actually think it's like a primitive thing. You know, I think evil is maybe a primitive thing or something, but they never connect that to it's either you're a rapist or you a hoe. It ain't never nothing in between there. You either a rapist or a hoe. So a rapist could be a thief, somebody forcing you to do anything. A hoe could be a person that sell their soul to anybody for any motherfucking thing. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to believe everything that comes out of somebody's mouth. That's why I tell my students that. Students, this is why. Because that's why I always tell you have to have sure evidence. And if you've been to college, you see what I'm saying? You still believe what people say instead of you actually reviewing the evidence. Something is fucking wrong with you. You see? They're using an actual show to say that that's the reason why they took my son and my dog. A show, a podcast. But they never used the podcast to find the rapist. Are you serious, Shantae? The earlier parts of your podcast went over the rape and everything. Yes, it did. But they never used that evidence to actually convict the rapist. But they used the evidence. You see what I'm saying? But they used the show as evidence to take my son and my dog. Are you serious? And Shantae, you talk about the rapes all the time on your show and how there's evidence of how they killed your mother and your cousins. But they never check that. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going over philosophers and evidence. But see, they've never checked that. But they always check to see if they can find some way to hurt me and my child. And so in that case, they want me to feel inferior and not enlarged. You see, they want me to take a lie about myself and actually ingrain it into who I am. And bitch, that just ain't gonna happen. So anyway, let's talk about some philosophers. Okay, so the first one is Patricia Hill Collins, and she actually came up with intersectionality. I know that this was like a big thing for people, a huge thing for people. So intersectionality includes age, race, class, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, and nation. So it's an analytical framework for understanding how aspects of a person's social and political identities combine to create different modes of discrimination and privilege. So, you have age. As people get older, things start to change. I think the biggest group that's probably protected right now is the baby boomers, because there's so many that they can't. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to really look at them and name them. They did a lot of work. They put in a lot of time. So that's the thing. Like, they are actually the most, probably at age, the most protected. The only thing I think about too is like sometimes they'll take a group of people that they would not consider to be discriminated against and discriminate against them. Like the young people, it's like, oh, you don't know much, you don't know anything. It's because now it's like we don't discriminate against these people. So what I'm thinking is it's like a trend. So at some point we'll be protecting the baby boomers, but then we'll be discriminating against the millennials. You see, so it's like we have to actually be cognizant of what's going on and how we are using those discriminatory practices, because it's not always against what's obvious. Sometimes it's against what's not obvious, such as when we talk about sexuality. Like when I told you about the guy, he was actually being stalked by, like he actually got hurt by terrorists because he was actually a government worker, but everybody wanted to stick to what his sexuality was. Like, oh my God, they done found out he's bisexual. That's not even our business. You see, when I talked about Robert Kraft, and everybody's, oh, he slept with an Asian woman, but he doesn't like this football player or whatever. He's racist. It's like, but that's not our business. You see what I'm saying? So it's like they would actually, it's like you actually are discriminating against people based on their sexuality, and you not actually recognizing what you're doing. So you see what I'm saying? That's actually discrimination. It's not something where that is actually something that we have to know. It's not something that we can criticize and make them feel bad about. It's not our fucking business. At the end of the day, it's really not. That is a heterosexual male. Yes, he may have had an act of infidelity. Both of them may have had acts of infidelity. But we actually, at the core of it, that was actually cases about their own sexuality. You see what I'm saying? So you wouldn't think that it's a case with Robert Kraft because he's a heterosexual. But you were actually discriminating against him because you are actually saying that he was wrong to do what he did the same way as you did with the bisexual man too. You see what I'm saying? Y'all don't ever think about that, but that is what happens. The trend is we protect the majority, like we protect the minority, but we forget the majority. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, y'all, that's when it's like a dual thing. Like, it's like, are you thinking about that? Like, are you thinking about it in that way? Or you just only want it to be thought about it when it's in your case? You see what I'm saying? So anyway, so intersectionality. Then you got race, class, gender, ethnicity, and nation. And how acts of privilege are done like that too. So, I mean, I see her definition and the way other people explain it is not going to be explained the way I explain it. I'm sorry that I don't go there with y'all. But, yeah, that's sometimes I think about this. Sometimes I think about how other people could feel too, because not everybody needs to, because some people are already policing themselves, and then y'all will come back and tap on their hand like they got to be policed again. And so when that stuff happens, then that's a problem for me, because that's how my life is right now. You see what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So yeah, the intersectionality. And then Kimberlè Williams Crenshaw, I think she did it like 30 years ago. She was doing the same thing. It's like she wants to demolish racial hierarchies altogether. So it's like how somebody is at the top. You know, so it's almost like we keep thinking that everybody is being equal. So I think my thought process is more with Kimberlè Williams Crenshaw, because that's what I'm saying too. It's not like heterosexual. It's not really the hierarchy. It isn't. When you think about sexuality, it's a line. It's not even something where there is a hierarchy. The only thing that goes like that is Maslow's theory, or maybe the food pyramid. Nothing else is like that. Nobody is higher than the other person. No matter if it's thought process or life experience or whatever, there is no hierarchy. So her study was like really something I really like. Kimberlè Williams Crenshaw. So Patricia Hill Collins. I mean, I just really thought about that. I was like, yeah, that makes sense to me. So let's get back to Patricia Hill Collins. So critical race theory is an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists in the U.S. who seek to critically examine the identification. I mean, what am I doing? To examine the law as it intersects with issues of race and to challenge mainstream liberal approaches to racial justice. So anyway, that's the critical race theory. It's an academic movement of civil rights scholars and activists to examine what's really going on. And y'all, in this situation, they really did a good job. So, I don't know, I saw this and I was like, this is some good stuff, the intersectionality. So, next we have Angela P. Harris. She was a legal academic, and she works on writing from a critical perspective on issues of race, gender, ethnicity, and sexuality. So, again, that's just the CRT, like, what is it called? A critical race theory. So, Emphraim Isaac. This is a quote from him. He will judge between many people and will settle disputes for strong nations far and wide. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations will not take up sword against nations, nor will they train for war anymore. That's peace. So this philosopher, that's like one of his favorite things, but he always fought. I think he fought to like make a treaty or something. I think maybe Ethiopia. I don't know. I gotta look it up. But yeah, it's like this thing where he is just like where he was a person of peace. So this quote makes so much sense because that's what he worked most of his life on. It's just finding treaties and ways for people to stop wars and end in peace. And it makes sense because sometimes it's not, man, this feeling that you get in your chest that you want to fight. You know, it's like you don't always have to fight, y'all. You know, somebody will be like, fight. That's like the worst advice I ever got in my life. Fight. Go ahead and fight. And that's the worst advice somebody can ever give you. It's how not to think and work through the pain of wanting to knock the fuck out of somebody. Because that's what they have to teach you. Because the older you get, the more you be wanting to just beat the shit out. It's like, I really wish I had a fucking cane. Y'all didn't have to even get next to them. Because some people not even worth fucking touching. You see what I'm saying? I need an inanimate object. So that no kind of transference of souls or love or anything is done. It just needs to be a good ass whooping. So, next you had Edmond Joseph Keller Jr. He came up, it's like, he thought about the political transitions in Africa. So one of them was cultural pluralism. It's when smaller groups within a larger society maintain their unique cultural identities whereby their values and practices are accepted by the dominant culture provided such are consistent with the laws and the values of the wide society. That's kind of how we wish that the United States would work with cultural pluralism. But it's like we don't want to recognize and respect cultures now. So how do we even get to that point? We have to stop it before it starts. And it does have to start with the White House. Now, this is something where I think it has to start with the White House. Like, we have to recognize this culture. And I think we have to, identify that it is very important to the strength of the entire country. And so I think that we need to have more celebrations and parades and different things like that for the cultures within the cities, within the government, within everything. You see, that's more of a celebration because then that's the way that we start to actually build independence within our country and in earth where we can start to love the United States as one thing. You see? Okay, and then the last one, and this is from Edmond Joseph Keller Jr. It's a tendency for people of a particular religion, race, social background, etc., to form exclusive political alliances, moving away from traditional broad-based party politics. So again, that's something else that's like cultural, where it's like where we can start to come together as one. But we have to be able to build, and I think that starts in schools, and jobs, everything else, so that we can get to a point where we start to identify where our pride starts again. That's it. Anyway, that's Shantae. Brown Sugar Talk on the Black Unicorns. I think that's it for my philosopher study. Except for next week, I got 5 great women philosophers that I discussed, but that's it for me. I went over enough of them. I learned a lot. Thank you to whoever made those lists. I bless you. I bless you. Have a good day. Mm-hmm.